Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Three Principles Global Community webinar. The Three Principles Global Community, or 3PGC, is a nonprofit organization that's committed to bringing an understanding of the three principles as introduced by Sydney Banks to people throughout the world. Today, we have Ellen Friedman with us. I've known Ellen for quite a while, so I love having her on here and getting to spend some time with her. Ellen, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Bonnie. You know, when we set this date up, I had no idea what the topic would be, and I think it was about November. I was in a small group, facilitating a small group virtual intensive called Grace and Ease with Pain and Disease, and someone asked me about a presentation that I did a couple years ago, and I said, yeah, I was invited to talk about chronic illness, and I just wanted to talk about chronic health. And in that moment, there's joy and excitement. Oh, I have an opportunity to talk about chronic health. And so that's how the topic came in such a meaningful part of chronic health that I see and that I look forward to sharing and exploring with you. So for those that don't know me, I think there might just be a small amount of you, but for those that don't know me, I was minding my own business, enjoying my physical therapy career, never looking or wanting to do anything else when my patients were asking for more Ellenisms. And I thought that was really cute. And I just kind of let it roll off my shoulder, but that kept on increasing and people were asking for more of the mind, body, soul intervention that I was knowingly and unknowingly bringing into my physical therapy sessions. And then 10 years ago, one of my patients' spouses was really struggling, and she was like, I don't know what to do. And I said, well, let's have a conversation and explore. So that's where the transition from physical therapy to coaching began, although I still really enjoy working with people who have physical therapy concerns or issues and sharing this understanding alongside of that. And I also want to begin by dedicating this hour to every single one of my, I'm just going to say teachers, but really everyone who's been willing to have a conversation with me, because I think the deepest learning that I've had on my journey of understanding these principles and this understanding of how we experience life only 100% of the time has really been from my conversations with my clients. So thank you to each one of you. So chronic, chronic means like long lasting, kind of has a tone of serious and, well, lots of things, just has lots of meaning that we make to the word chronic. And I'm just really interested in the chronic health, the thousands of functions that happen on their own every moment of every day, whether we're awake or sleeping, conscious of them or not, from just the cellular functions to the functions of the organs of the body, to the functions of the systems of the body, and how they all coordinate and interact without us doing a thing. So to me, that's chronic health. It's there, long lasting, all the time, as long as we're alive. There are functions that happen without us. Just sit with that for a moment and see how that feels to remember the wisdom of the body, knowing exactly what to do, when to do, how to do it. It's really amazing. It's really amazing. Really amazing. As I was sharing this topic with one of my clients a few weeks ago, she said, "Oh, oh, chronic health. We're going to talk about all the, all the different illnesses." I'm like, and I laughed and I said, "No, we're going to talk about all the normal, healthy functions of the body." Like, and she was like, "Wow, I'm interested in that. I'm interested in that." So when I began exploring this three principle understanding, physical disease and physical health issues were completely an exception for me because I had real pain. I had measurable, I'm putting my finger up because at the time I was having some heart lung stuff, and my oxygen saturation was low, and I could see it on my finger oximeter. I could measure what was going on, and I could feel what I was measuring, and that was real. And I'm laughing because it was just such a blind spot for me that this understanding could impact that. And at the time, I was pretty focused on feeling better, getting rid of the symptoms, having blood levels change, having numbers change, and doing a lot to get there, doing a real lot to get there. And at some point, I don't know how it happened, but I naturally just shifted to, I just let go of trying to figure out how it worked with the principles. And then I just saw, oh my gosh, I have less symptoms. Oh my gosh, I have greater peace. I knew there was a connection with that. And I thought that because I taught stress management and I taught breathing exercises and I did them every day with myself and with my clients, that was that was the answer. And seeing that that was a direction. But now, like, I thought I had achieved, I thought I got to a point where I achieved um, peace. But now I see that peace is an infinite, expanded well of space. And I love kind of playing around in there. So let's see. The first autoimmune diagnosis that I got was several years ago. And I just remember that moment that my doctor said, here's your diagnosis. I had never heard of it before. And, it's autoimmune. And autoimmune was fairly new in my reference at that time. And I was like, the body doesn't, like what I know, the body doesn't attack itself. The body only knows how to heal. I was just like this knowing inside of me that the body's direction is to heal. And I see the wisdom that came up in that moment. And shortly my symptoms went away and it never came back. But then there were two subsequent autoimmune diagnoses that followed. And I just see how trying to get out of the experience with them was really, really not helpful. Trying to get out of the experience was really adding to my suffering and adding to my experience of it. So, for those of you who know me, I prefer conversation rather than just me talking, although I have no problem speaking for the full hour or two. But I just want to pause here and see if there's any comments or questions about what I said or clarification or thank you for your comment, Amy, about tearing up. It's nice to see you.
Can I speak or?
Please.
Yeah, okay. I have those autoimmune diagnoses as well, and they're always seem a little questionable, I guess, not very exact. And I recently had kind of an experience that just totally changed my view of it. I had been diagnosed with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue a few years ago, and the way they did it, diagnosed it, just seemed kind of funny to me, but I was experiencing a lot of pain. And so, but it went away. And then in the last few months, it just got really bad again. And it was my thoughts that went along with it was, oh my God, this is fibromyalgia. Is this what it's like? Is this what I'm going to have to live with? And oh no, I really don't know how am I going to do this? And I was using CBD oil and stuff, and Tylenol wouldn't work. And I talked to my doctor, who wasn't the person who diagnosed it. And she said, it doesn't sound like fibromyalgia to me. It sounds like pain from anxiety. And something went off in my head just like that. And I thought, anxiety? Well, I could just relax then. I have not had that pain at all now. And it's like 6 weeks or something.
Yeah, Shelley, thank you so much for sharing your story. And what I really want to highlight in your story is, and I'm going to share my similar story, is that Shelley shared her experience, and her wisdom, her insight happened in the moment of, I can do something. And it's so easy for all of us to want to take that as a prescription for ourselves or to share with someone else. And that may work intermittently. But what is sustainable is when we have our own insight. So my similar story to that is I woke up like around midnight. I'd been asleep for a couple hours, woke up 12 or 1 in the morning, and like my heart was racing and I was short of breath. And I had recently come to this high elevation town where my beautiful granddaughter lives, and to visit. And I just I just felt like I was at this fork in the road. Like the symptoms came on, and they were symptoms from one of my autoimmune labels. And it's like in slow motion, I could feel my anxiety and worry about it just amplify it. And that amplification like told me that I was at a fork, and I could see something wrong. I could see that I could make up a story that there's something wrong. There's my pot symptoms again. Or in that moment, I remembered my body does what it needs. My heart rate is elevated because it needs to be. My experience of shortness of breath is to tell me to relax and allow my body to be breathed. And I just see that so much with symptoms. It's like the human condition is just to default into something is wrong, something is broken, something needs to be fixed. I need to do it, or I need to go to the emergency room to have it done, or I need to go somewhere to have it done. And I'm not saying that those things aren't accurate. Sometimes we need all of those. But if we just slow down and calm down for a moment, then we know whether to go or we know whether to stay and let go. Oh, I love that. We know whether to go or we know whether to let go, right? So Shelley, thank you for bringing up that story and giving me the opportunity to reflect on that. I want to share another couple stories about things that have where this understanding has helped me have a new perspective. Let me see, how many years ago was that? Like, well, more than 10 years, 12 years ago, I had a spontaneous healing of a herniated disc. It had been going on for like four months. I couldn't sit. I could lay down or I could stand. And it was at this workshop, and really, really struggling with pain. And when I had my spontaneous healing, what I mean is the symptoms went away and never came back for 12 years. Is the disc still herniated? Maybe. I don't know, because I didn't go back to find out if it was. But because I didn't have the symptoms, so it kind of didn't really matter. I knew that the process I had done was not the answer to, like, okay, line up. This is how a herniated disc is healed. Like, I knew that. I knew that there was something greater than me that was responsible for the healing. And that's where mind comes in. Mind is the source of healing. And it was so obvious in that moment when I had that spontaneous healing. Tony, I see that you have your hand raised. So let's take a pause and see what you have to say.
Unmute. Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Ellen. I think the hiking in the cold and the high elevation, from what I see on Facebook with your hiking, has done you very well. You look spectacular. So here's to all those external things. And I initially signed up to come to this because of the term chronic health. I thought that was such a good flip on the other term. And, I've been struggling with one illness, for a long time, maybe 17, 18 years, doesn't matter. But I have a coach, another coach right now, and his big saying is, I live my life by design, not by diagnosis. And I have almost I had some symptoms like 8 years ago, and they were, I went to the regular doctor and everything, and they were going to give me a second diagnosis and treatments and all this stuff. And I just got up and walked out. I said, it really doesn't matter. My health plan is my health plan. And I don't need to have another label. So, that's how I live my life.
That's beautiful.
I mean, I go when I have to go, but it's very balanced with everything else I do.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say, you're looking in a mirror when you see something different, because you also look like age has happened in reverse, and much more relaxed than when we knew each other in person. And just because we're in this space, I do want to address your comment about the external. See, you can look on Facebook and you can say, oh, I see Ellen doing these hikes. I see Ellen in the cold, and I'm linking it together and making that mean that she's, happy and more peaceful than when I knew her before. But I want to say that the truth is because of this understanding and this community that I share this understanding with, has pointed me to the source of peace and the source of happiness, regardless of symptoms, regardless of circumstances, regardless of weather, regardless of hiking. So I just invite you, for the rest of our time together, and maybe any other exploration that you do in this 3PGC or the Three Principles community, just be open to that. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Another story. This story I'm really hesitant to share because body weight is such an interesting, such an interesting thing. So I'm sharing with this hesitation. I spent my entire adult life from the last child that I had until a few years ago, struggling to release, whatever you want to call it, 10 pounds. And in 2009, I was in a program, maybe we were in the program together, Bonnie, and I, did endless processes and journaling and recording and tracking and gestalting with and exercise and food. And, I lost 9 pounds in 8 months. Isn't that good? It's slow, and then what happened? I went through menopause. And then what happened? I heard inside of my head all the times that someone said, oh, it's so hard to lose weight in menopause. And I was just like, oh, and so for a couple years, I just, the struggle was different because I just felt like it was hopeless. And then it's really interesting as I reflect on this today, because it happened 5 years ago, right about the time that I began more deeply exploring this understanding. I just looked in the mirror one day and I said, I'm not going to waste one more moment of my precious life on the size of my body, on the excess body fat, on whatever you want to call it. Like, I don't care anymore. But I do care about my health. 25 pounds has come off my body effortlessly. Please don't hear this as a prescription. You can't look in the mirror and say to yourself what I said to myself. Just be open. Just be open to your own experience, your own knowing, your own guidance. Because I know that if someone had told me that story, and if I had done that, I know it's very unlikely that it would have been effective. And why, I guess the hesitancy is just because because weight loss is has been such a struggle for so many people. So I share that just as a description of what we learn in this beautiful community about how life happens. Wisdom comes inside. We have an insight, and something shifts the way we are. Like something shifted the relationship I had with food and my body in an instant. And I never thought about food the same again. So the last story that I want to share for now about my healing journey happened about a month ago. I was walking out a door over there was a large not a threshold, like a large step, front porch, large step. I have gone down this step hundreds of times, but this time I fell. I fell and immediately felt pain in my foot, and like wisdom just said, put your hand on your foot. Then wisdom said, rub your foot. Oh yeah, rubbing your foot, that's good, that increases circulation. I took really good care of myself that day. I elevated it. I put some ice on it intermittently. And by the end of the day, I could not weight bear on it at all. And I just decided that I needed to go to urgent care, if nothing else, just to get crutches to get off of it, because I didn't have crutches. And And because it would had progressed, I was like, better make sure that there's not a fracture in there. So I got in bed that night and I remember just like sinking into the bed, feeling so supported and relieved to be off of it. And the next morning, and some things happened that night. There was definitely like I was guided, do this, take this. The next morning, I could bear weight on my foot. It was an extraordinary, especially being a physical therapist, like that level of foot sprain doesn't heal like that overnight. Like that was really interesting to me. And then I said, oh, acute, you've been dealing with chronic health stuff. You forgot how, the body heals chronic, acute injuries heal fast. And I said to myself, maybe. But what I really know to be true is that it doesn't matter whether it's acute or chronic, the body heals. And I share that mostly because it was so easy to think acute, it's going to heal. But it deepened my knowing of acute or chronic healing is available. And although I may have some influence in it, mind, universal energy, the divine, the creator, whatever label you want to use, is absolutely, to me, positively, certainly the source of healing, the source of all healing, but first the source of, in this case, physical healing. So thank you. Rick.
Thank you, Ellen. I love your share and your stories, and what really popped out of all that is, and I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, and is that whole thing about you have to live your own journey. It so resonated. I'll briefly say a couple of little stories, but in my career, I had blown my back out, and I was really attached to my career. And I was told by the doctors that I needed to find some different work. And I went into some depression, but I also had to go into rehab to heal myself. And I couldn't sit for long periods of time. I couldn't stand I could barely walk for a couple of minutes, but I was told that I had to do this. Well, suddenly it occurred to me, and I'm never one to listen to other people, but it occurred to me, I said, I need to understand more what's going on here. Like I can't just rely on what other people are thinking. So I said, well, I feel pain. If I keep walking, am I actually hurting myself? And they said, no, your injury, you're not hurting anything, right? And I said, okay, great. So I just kept walking. And within a very, very, very short time, there was something like just snapped, just like that. And there was no pain. There was absolutely no pain. And then I started to, walk longer. I started jogging. I went back to my career, all that good stuff. Well, I ended up getting cancer, and there was something in my body that needed to be removed. Now, what guided me was I needed surgery. And so I went in and I got whatever it was, the golf ball tumor, taken out of me. And I've been healthy ever since. But what was really kind of interesting was all the other stories that people were trying to share to me around, you should have done this, or you could have done this, like positive, all that stuff. But what you really said to me, which really sunk, is, know thyself, follow your own journey. This is your own journey. And if your own journey says get surgery, then get surgery. If your own journey says this, do this. But it's your own journey. So thank you very much.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that you said that, Rick, because giving people the dignity of their own journey is so important. And as I work with caregivers and family members of people, I've served over 300 people on a journey of healing cancer, and all, with a lot with integrative means. The biggest struggle they have, I don't want to say one struggle that crosses the board of so many of the people that I worked with, was the pressure that they felt either from their own doctors, the pressure that they felt from family members or friends to do something else. And so I say that because we'll probably all at some point know someone that has maybe a serious diagnosis, as a cancer diagnosis or a chronic illness diagnosis, and really like giving someone the dignity of their choice and their path is like one of the most valuable things that we can give people. And even with like, thank you, Rick. It was just beautiful. And, you know, it reminds me, like, all the people that I worked with that had stage 4 cancer still had so much joy. And then I'm going to, and that my soft, gentle encouragement to get in their life now on any teeny level, you know, getting back to whatever is meaning to you is such a valuable part of the healing journey. And it can be done in the smallest, easiest ways. From thinking about the big project that you have to looking at photographs about the project that you have, or creating photographs. So, when someone with stage 4 cancer has trillions of healthy cells in their body, like, who thinks about that? Who thinks about that? Anyone else? Go ahead, Shauna. You're still muted. And as you're unmuting yourself, I just want to make sure that I'm highlighting this understanding is about shifting our experience with illness, pain, disease. Mm-hmm. Shifting our experience, I'm going to say, with life. Go ahead.
Oh, I just want to say thank you so much, Ellen. I've just learned so much from you. For me, this new learning about innate health reminds me of when I first came across the principles about 4 years ago. And when someone was teaching me about inside out, I kept thinking, no, it can't be. If somebody came up and slapped my face, oh, they've made me feel whatever I'm feeling. Can't be. No, I just didn't get it. That bit. Of course, now I understand. And I just feel with you, I'm on this wonderful journey with health now. Of course, it's all connected, it's all wisdom, it's all, but I'm really seeing it now. Before I just, like when I first came across, as I say, I didn't see the inside out. I'm really getting it. And I just want to say thank you, because one of my biggest insights was with you when I got about depression. It's not there all the time. It comes, it goes. But with pain, I couldn't see it. And then bang.
Share a little bit more, because I think your insight was beautiful and I loved how it evolved. And
Oh, it was amazing. Ellen reached out to me. I've been healthy most of my life, but at the end of last year, I was in horrific pain with shingles, and I didn't even know anyone who'd had it before, and it was incredibly painful. And Ellen reached out to me, and I just thought this pain was forever. And we were just talking, and suddenly it all fell into place. This pain isn't here all the time. It comes and it goes. It's just not there all the time. And that's when I thought, oh, now I get it. It's like, because I got the mental health side, I thought, oh, it's like depression. That's not there all the time. That comes, that goes. And the pain comes and the pain goes, but it's not there all the time. And it's just, that was the start of this. And I just say thanks so much to Ellen. But now I'm seeing the wisdom coming in with health now, not just wisdom coming in with about my thoughts, my thinking on, how to go about my day or work or whatever. But I now see it's, of course, it's all joined up, and I now see it with health, and it, like you said and Rick said, it's your journey. You have to make the decision with your journey.
You get to make the decision.
You get to, yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah.
I just, what I remember about your story of my pain isn't there all the time, it was like, I'm just going to go out with the dogs. Like, I'm going to go
Yes.
be in my life. And you were so amazed at what you could do that you didn't, a moment before, you didn't think was possible. Am I remembering accurately?
Absolutely, Ellen.
Yeah.
So true. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I got up and I walked, I went out with the dogs. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And Shauna, is there something else you wanted to say?
No, just a huge thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for bringing that in, because that was something else I wanted to share. Like, I saw how these principles, this understanding, worked with mental health. Everyone has innate mental health. Some people may also have mental illness diagnoses, but even with the diagnoses, they still have innate mental health. Like, that's a pretty, would everyone would people agree with? Like, we see that from this understanding, right? Well, it occurred to me, why would it be different with physical? It's the experience, right? The experience of mental health, the experience of physical health, that these principles, Sid's teachings work. So experience is experience. It's not isolated to physical health, mental health, emotional health. It's life. And that, as many of my clients remind me after we've explored together, suffering and pain are not, don't go, this in the same direction at the same time, right? So, I mean, I had two grandmothers, one grandmother who had high suffering with low diagnoses, let's say, and another grandmother that had low suffering with high diagnoses. That they were just like, stand out as diagnosis, level of pain, level of like whatever doesn't have to impact life. And I think we all know people that get bent out of shape with a broken fingernail, or I'm sorry that I said that. I know some people that are really impacted with something very small that seems obvious that's going to go away. And some people are completely not impacted by, a serious potentially life-limiting diagnosis. And that's where the principles, point us. I want to come back to mind for a minute, because we did talk, the title is In Mind. And so opening up my missing link book from Sydney Banks. And Elsie Spittle did a 1-minute Facebook recording yesterday on this one sentence, and I just loved it. An important thing to realize is that universal mind and personal mind are not two minds thinking differently, but two ways of using the same mind. There's one mind, and we use it differently. Wow. Wow. I just find that powerful, hopeful. I kind of like knowing what's up to me and what's not up to me, and how I use it is up to me. There is one universal mind, common to all, and wherever you are, it is with you always. It is with you always. Like, even in the midst of pain and suffering, even in the midst of a cloudy mind, wisdom is there, universal mind is there. So I'm again gonna open it up to any comments or questions, and it doesn't have to be, but especially around mind. I wanna see how mind, this idea of mind, is landing with people. I'm actually loving the silence. I mean, if someone wants to share, but the silence also gives us the opportunity to feel where mind is landing. And oftentimes it is beyond words, right? We would really struggle to, we would maybe struggle to put some words on it. So thank you for the silence. Thank you for the sharing. Does mind give us pain? So if you want to have a conversation about it, I'm happy to. And if not, you can unmute yourself. And if not, that's fine. But I just don't see it that way. I don't see that. I see it. We create our experience of pain. And I guess mind is the source of all, right? But is mind the source? Is mind the source of pain? Or does mind give us pain? Someone commented, yeah, mind is like the pain or symptoms are the love letters from our body. A beautiful Bill Pettit quote. Yes, the pain points us. Like I can say that there's something wrong, that we need to go do something, or it just points us. It points us to take action. Typically, it's in a place of slowing down or reducing the nervous system. So Marlene, I want to hear what you have to say in just a minute. That I'm just going to want to comment while it's fresh for me, is that like pain is a sense from the nervous system. And when we have the experience of pain, the nervous system is heightened. Fight or flight gets turned on. So anytime no matter how peaceful we think we are, anytime that we have discomfort or pain, physical, mental, emotional, there's an opportunity for more down regulating the nervous system, more relaxation, as someone shared earlier. So, yeah, Marlene.
The comment made me think of a situation. My friend's mother is quite elderly and in a lot of pain. But my friend also observed that her mother often says very self-appreciating things about herself. You know, the just not loving and accepting herself, and even to the point where she's seeking, you know, permission for you know, for the medical death. And her doctor says you don't qualify because you know you don't have any life-threatening thing. But that's kind of, you know, speaks to her relationship with herself, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Yeah. And I bet all of us on this call that have spent any time exploring this understanding can truly say that our relationship with ourself has definitely shifted, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, Rick.
Yeah, I just, you know, it's to me, I'm reminded around, you know, people acting at the level of their understanding, and I think, you know, I know it's a simple example, but you know, like I hike a lot, right? And I'll start a hike off, and I'll notice that there's a pebble in my foot, but you know what? I'm too lazy to change it, so I just want to keep going, and maybe it'll go away. Maybe it'll go away, but it gets worse and worse, right? You know, understanding the fact that I've got a pebble in my foot, right? It brings that awareness. The pain brought the attention to that, right? Understanding what it is provides that solution, so to speak, right? In other words, just, you know, get the pebble out of your foot. But I think, you know, when we take that minor example and escalate it to something that looks or appears to be really significant, we lose, I almost feel like we lose that little bit of understanding around, because it's all of a sudden it's got more importance or more significance that we've put on it, and not see it as the same. Am I making any sense of that?
Yeah, no, it's beautiful what you're saying. And I really appreciate what you're saying. Yeah, thank you. I want to make sure that I haven't avoided the question, does mind give us pain? I think I just want to say I'm not really clear on what you mean. So I'm open to continuing that exploration, because the principles give us an opportunity to experience life, and we choose our experience, right? Through mind, thought, and consciousness. Like Rick was saying, in our response to symptoms or anything is a reflection, a barometer, a reading of where our attention is, where our conscious level of consciousness is in the moment, where our state of mind is. Does it not speak to how we use our personal mind, Marlene? Yes, yes. There is one mind, and how we use it, whether we choose to go down the personal mind of comparing, contrasting, being in fear. I mean, that's personal mind's job at its best, right? Is to protect us, keep us in the illusion of safety, security, and control. That's what it does best. And when we know that's what's going on, when we see that, when we're alert to that, then we don't have to stay on that bus or on that train. So thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Isabel. Oh, go ahead, Bonnie, and then Isabel.
I had an old sports injury. I injured my hamstring, which took a really long time to heal. And then for years afterwards, it would, I guess the best way of describing it is it would cramp up, and usually in the middle of the night, and then it would go on forever, and it would be like I couldn't stand. It was not just like cramp, it was pain. And one one night I woke up, and this was maybe after about a year of being introduced to the three principles. The thought popped in my head, what if it doesn't have to hurt for a long time?
Mm.
And it got, and that was from mind, because what it opened up in me is I realized that I would feel the pain and then go into fear that it was going to last for a really long time. And after that, it continued to wake me up for a little while after that. I have no idea if this still happens now, because I rarely, maybe a little twinge once in a while, but it was really, I really started to relate to that term, or that saying, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional, because I was making myself suffer. It's like there was a little bit of pain, and then I'd go into fear that it was going to last, and then I really suffered.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's so, and again, I want us all to see wisdom came, mind gave Bonnie some guidance. We can't go do that. We can't use Bonnie's tool to help us. Isabel, so good to see you.
Oh, I just love this conversation, Ellen. I was resonating on something I think you said, Ellen, about the shifting our experience with disease or pain or illness in life. It's just that shift. I noticed the willingness to actually realize and consider it is coming from, let's just call it the lowercase m mind, that is part of uppercase M divine mind. They're both working together. Both have such an amazing way of, there's no wrong left turn for any of us. They're all working together. They're all bringing us home. But do we have the willingness to shift our perceptions, our held thinking, chaotic thinking? And this is a big ask. I'm in this, the healthcare industry myself, and the way I've tried to communicate that, I think is really important to be gentle and caring, because there are so many that still hold it separate, as if the body is separately something disidentified and detached and an enemy, and all these kind of things start to happen. But yet, if you don't acknowledge that physical pain, there's almost a resistance, a discounting, saying you don't matter because the identification with the body is so strong, and that sort of illusory temporal attachment to physical stuff. And yet it's all tied together, but how we're communicating that is so critical, and so important. But being guided, allow that, the way you say it, the way it comes out, just being really tuned in, tapped into that wisdom. And then as you do that, you're coaching it to those who are hearing it. They do it too, and they're being open to that and willing, perhaps.
Yeah. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to say it is really important to acknowledge people's experience wherever they are. And as Rick said, it's just a reflection of their understanding. And through continued coaching or conversations, I've had many people say, week after week after week, my body's against me. My autoimmune is, my body's attacking me. My pain is against me. Nothing's for me. And then finally, I don't want to say finally, and then at some point on their journey, they see something else. And I don't know, right now I have so much freedom knowing that something else that they see is not on me, because as a trained healthcare professional, I was trained to think it was on me. Although early on in my career, I just knew 2 people, same diagnosis, same prognosis, completely different outcomes. There was something else going on, and that something else is mind. So thank you so much, Isabel. Thank you all for participating. I'm willing to stand for some more time if Bonnie is. I do want to say, for those of you who do need to leave, I just feel like I want to share, and since fear came up, I love Kelly Turner, who wrote Radical Remission. Her acronym for fear is forgetting every available resource. Fear is forgetting every available resource. And for me, in this understanding, that prime resource is mind. It's forgetting that mind and wisdom is always guiding us. And I wanted to hear an acronym for faith. And after giving up working hard to find it, what came to me is faith is feeling awe in the heart. Feeling awe, feeling the awe of mind in our bodies. Like we feeling awe in the heart is beyond words, before words. And so for those of you who have to sign off, I just want to leave you with feeling awe in the heart. And again, thank 3PGC for creating this space for practitioners to share our experiences and our understanding, and have an interactive discussion. And Shauna had mentioned, I offer these small group virtual intensive 6 sessions, 5 consecutive, sometimes it's 5 consecutive, and then we take a week off and do, I'm receiving all your gratitude. Thank you all. And it's very accessible and small group, and it's very interactive. And most of them I co-facilitate with Mick Tomlinson, who's currently in Greece. And so if that calls to you, just as an exploration, and even though it's grace and ease with pain and disease, there's very little conversation about the pain and disease, and a lot more conversation about the grace and ease. It's just like that's what brings us all together, is that we share some physical thing, but it doesn't make sense to go into the, it doesn't make sense to go into the symptoms, to go into the labels. It just amplifies it. So
Thank you so much, Ellen. If anyone has any more questions or comments, I'm happy to stay on as well.
Do you want to announce next week? Because it's very exciting.
I do, but I just wanted to see if anybody else had anything. Maybe not. Okay. Yes. So since Ellen actually mentioned this earlier, the next webinar is Thursday, March 18th. I'm in the wrong month. Thursday, March 18th with Elsie Spittle. So hopefully you'll all be able to join us. Yeah. Thank you, Ellen. Always wonderful to hang out with you. And I really, really enjoyed this call. It was really fun.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your comments, for your presence. Like, I could really feel your presence and your shared, our shared journey